The Forgotten Watchers, the warning. Signal the Sentinel array had watched Earth for 3,000 years without interruption. Captain Roland of the Fennery Ray stood before the ancient monitoring station, his 4 eyes fixed on screens that showed impossible readings. Something had changed on the isolated world. The signals were wrong. Olive. Them, the Federation had placed humanity under quarantine long ago, not as punishment but as protection. When they first scouts discovered Earth, they found a species with potential that terrified the wisest minds in the galaxy. Humans possessed something dangerous buried in their genetic code, something ancient. The High Assembly had voted unanimously to seal the solar system behind an invisible barrier of folded space. Nothing could enter, nothing could leave. Earth would remain frozen in time until the danger passed, or humanity died out naturally. Rin had served as Sentinel Commander for 200 years. His duty was simple: watch humanity from afar, record their progress, make sure they never touched the barrier, make sure they never learned the truth. The job had been peaceful until today, the impossible discovery. His second officer, a young Venuri named Voss, approached with trembling hands. Commander, you need to see this. The planetary scans show population numbers that cannot be accurate. Roll. Move to the main console. His eyes widened as he processed the data. When humanity had been quarantined 3 millennia ago, Earth held 8 billion souls. The scans now showed 40 billion. In a sealed system with limited resources, this was mathematically impossible. Run diagnostics on all sensors. Rand ordered. Check for malfunctions. Voss worked quickly, his fingers dancing across holographic controls. Minutes passed. The young officer's face grew pale. All systems are functioning perfectly, Commander. The readings are accurate. There are 40 billion humans on Earth, and that is not the strangest part. Roll felt a chill run down his spine. Show me. The main screen shifted to display energy signatures from Earth's surface. Advanced technology glowed across every continent. Fusion reactors, quantum computers, gravitational manipulation devices, technologies that should have taken humanity 10,000 years to develop. They had done it in 3,000, sealed away from the rest of the galaxy. This violates every projection the Assembly made. Boss whispered. They were supposed to stagnate. They were supposed to fight among themselves and destroy their progress. Instead, they thrived. Rollins knew what this meant. The ancient danger had not faded. It had grown stronger in isolation. Humanity had evolved in ways the Federation could not predict, and now, after 3,000 years of silence, they were awakening to their true potential. The Emergency Council. Within hours, Rollins stood before the High Assembly via quantum communication. Representatives from 40 species filled the chamber on the Federation capital. World, the eldest a being called Thor, who had lived for 6,000 years, presided over the gathering. Sentinel Commander Roland Thier spoke with a voice like grinding stone. You claim humanity has exceeded all containment predictions. Explain. Rollins activated his report. Holographic displays showed Earth's impossible advancement. 3,000 years ago, we sealed humanity away because our archaeologists discovered evidence in their DNA, evidence of tampering by the progenitors. A murmur ran through the assembly. The progenitors were legend, an ancient race that had seeded life across the galaxy. Millions of years ago, then vanished. Most species consider them myth, but the Federation's oldest records told a different story. The progenitors left genetic keys in certain species. Roland continued keys that would unlock abilities beyond normal evolution. Most species never triggered these keys. They remained dormant forever, but humanity was different. Their genetic code showed signs of active transformation even 3,000 years ago. We quarantined them to prevent whatever they were becoming. Thoras leaned forward, and now the transformation is complete. We do not know what they have become, but our sensors detect energy patterns around Earth that match nothing in our databases. Patterns that suggest humanity has unlocked abilities we cannot comprehend. A reptilian delegate from the Crush Empire spoke up. Then we must act. If humanity has become dangerous, we must neutralize the threat before they breach the containment barrier. They already have, Roland said. Quietly, the chamber erupted in chaos. Voices shouted in a dozen languages. Security protocols activated. Automatically, Thoras raised one massive hand and silence fell. Explain yourself. Commander, the breach, Roland called. Up new data. 2 hours ago our sensors detected a human ship outside the barrier. It appeared 15 light years from Earth, well beyond the quarantine zone. The ship did not break through the barrier. It simply appeared on the other side as if the barrier did not exist. Impossible, the crash delegate hissed. The barrier was built using progenitor technology. Nothing can pass through it. Humanity found a way, Roland replied. The ship remained for 17 minutes, then vanished. No warp signature, no dimensional tier. It simply ceased to exist in that location. Voss, who had accompanied Rand to the assembly, spoke up nervously. Commander, we are receiving a transmission. It originates from inside this chamber. Every delegate froze. Security forces materialized around the room, weapons ready, but no intruder appeared. Instead, the central holographic display activated on its own. A human face appeared, a woman with dark skin and warm brown eyes. She smiled. Greetings to the High Assembly, the woman said. My name is Dr. Sarah Chen. I am human, and I have been standing among you for the past 5 minutes. The hidden truth. Panic erupted. Guards scanned every corner of the chamber. Delegates shouted for explanations. But Sarah Chen's hologram remained calm and steady. Please do not be alarmed, she continued. I mean no harm. I am here to deliver a message for my people. We know about the quarantine. We know why you imprisoned us, and we want you to understand that we are grateful. Thoras silenced the room. Again with a gesture, grateful. Explain yourself, human. Sarah's expression grew serious. 3,000 years ago, your scientists discovered the progenitor code in our DNA. They feared what we might become. They were right to fear. Transformation that was beginning in us was dangerous and unpredictable. If we had been part of the galactic community during those early stages, we might have hurt others. We might have hurt ourselves. She paused, letting her words sink in. The isolation saved us. It gave us time to understand what was happening to us. Time to learn control. Time to evolve safely without threatening anyone. Roll found his voice. What exactly did you become? Something new, Sarah answered. The The progenitors left keys in many species, but humanity's key was unique. It unlocked abilities tied to consciousness itself. We can perceive dimensions you cannot see. We can move through space in ways that bypass your physical laws. We can exist in multiple states simultaneously. The crushed delegate stood. You admit to being a threat, then you admit that you possess power beyond our understanding. I admit to being different, Sarah corrected gently, but not a threat. For 3,000 years, my people have watched the galaxy from behind our barrier. We have seen your wars, we have seen your struggles, we have seen your achievements. We do not wish to conquer you, we wish to join you. Thor studied the human carefully. You ask us to release you from quarantine. We ask for nothing, Sarah replied. The barrier cannot hold us anymore. We can leave whenever we choose. We are here because we respect the Federation, because we want to prove that we can be trusted, because we believe the galaxy is stronger when all its children work together. She gestured, and suddenly a dozen more humans appeared in the chamber. They materialized out of empty air, standing calmly among the shocked delegates. They came in all colors and shapes, young and old, men and women, each one smiling peacefully. We have been among you for decades, Sarah said. We have walked your worlds. We have learned your languages. We have studied your cultures. And we have never once used our abilities to harm. We ask only for a chance to prove ourselves as equals. The choice. Thoras rose from his seat. The ancient being moved slowly, his massive form towering over everyone present. He approached the nearest human, an elderly man with gray hair and kind eyes. The human did not flinch. You could have remained hidden, Thoras said. You could have integrated into our society without revealing yourselves. Why come forward now? The elderly man spoke for the first time. His voice was soft but carried weight, because lies create distance, because secrets breed mistrust, because true friendship requires honesty. We are ready to be seen for what we truly are. The question is whether you are ready to see us. Thoras was silent for a long moment. Then slowly he extended one massive hand. The elderly human took it without hesitation. Around the chamber, other delegates began to approach the humans. Curiosity replaced fear. Wonder replaced suspicion. Rin watched this unfold with amazement. 3,000 years of isolation had not made humanity bitter. It had made them wise. They had used their time in the darkness to become something extraordinary. Not conquerors, not tyrants, but beings who understood the value of patience and peace. Sarah Chen's hologram smiled wider. There is much we can teach you, much you can teach us. Together we can explore mysteries that neither of us could solve alone. The progenitors left more than just genetic keys scattered across the galaxy. They left questions, and humanity believes those questions are meant to be answered together. As the assembly dissolved into excited conversation, Rand understood that this day would be remembered forever. The day humanity emerged from isolation. The day a new era began for the entire galaxy. The danger the Federation had feared for millennia had transformed into hope. Earth had spent 3,000 years alone in the darkness, but humanity had not wasted that time. They had learned. They had grown. They had evolved into something their ancestors could never have imagined. And now finally they were ready to take their place among the stars. Oldest secret in human DNA had awakened. At last, and the galaxy would never be the same. The awakening truth, the underground network, Dr. Sarah Chen, materialized in her laboratory deep beneath the surface of New Beijing. The journey from the Federation Assembly chamber had taken only a thought. She still marveled at this ability, even after decades of practice. Folding space with consciousness alone seemed impossible, yet here she stood, thousands of light years from where she had been moments before. Her team waited for her, 12 brilliant minds representing humanity's secret evolution. There was Marcus, who had been born during the early days of the transformation. There was young Amara, barely 20 years old, who could perceive 17 dimensions simultaneously. There was old Tom, who remembered Earth before the awakening began in earnest. How did they react? Marcus asked. Immediately. Sarah smiled. Fear at first, then curiosity. The Fennery commander Rin seems sympathetic. The eldest Thoris is cautious but open. The crash delegate wanted us destroyed, but even he softened when he met us face to face. Did you show them the full extent? Amara's voice carried worry. Did you reveal everything we can do? No. Sarah admitted, I showed them enough to prove we are no longer limited by the barrier, enough to demonstrate that hiding is pointless, but I did not reveal our deepest capabilities. That trust must be earned slowly. Tom nodded his white head. Wisdom. The Federation has feared us for 3 millennia. We cannot expect that fear to vanish in a single meeting. Sarah moved to the central display that showed a map of human settlement across Earth. 40 billion people now called this planet home. But what the Federation did not yet know was that another 60 billion humans lived in hidden colonies, scattered throughout the solar system. Colonies that existed slightly out of phase with normal space, invisible to all sensors except those designed by human consciousness. Humanity had not just survived the quarantine, they had exploded in growth and capability. The transformation coded into their DNA by the mysterious progenitors had unlocked potential that even Sarah struggled to comprehend fully. The secret history Marcus activated. Historical records. I think it's time I shared the complete story with the younger generation. Amara, you were born after the Great Awakening. You've never known anything except these abilities, but our elders remember the struggle. Holographic images filled the room. Earth as it had been 3,000 years ago appeared before them, a world on the brink of environmental collapse. Humanity fighting over dwindling resources. Wars spreading across continents. Then the Federation scout ships arrived. First contact should have been humanity's greatest moment. Marcus continued. Instead, the Federation scientists took genetic samples and discovered something that terrified them. Our DNA contained progenitor code that was actively expressing we were changing, evolving, becoming something new. The images shifted to show the construction of the quarantine barrier, massive Federation ships surrounding Earth's solar system, reality itself bending as they wove an impenetrable wall of folded dimensions. The Federation told us nothing, Tom said bitterly. One day we could see the stars, the next day an invisible wall blocked our exit. Ships that tried to leave the solar system simply stopped. Radio signals went silent. We were trapped with no explanation. Sarah watched the historical footage with sadness. She had not been alive then, but these records were precious to humanity. They showed the confusion, the panic, the despair of a species suddenly cut off from the cosmos. They were just beginning to reach toward, but then something miraculous happened. Marcus said the images showed scientists in laboratories around the world making the same discovery simultaneously. We felt the change in our bodies. We began to perceive things we couldn't see before. A few individuals started demonstrating abilities that defied physics. They could move small objects. With thought alone, they could sense the emotions of others. They could occasionally glimpse moments slightly before they happened. Amara leaned forward, fascinated. The awakening began. Yes, Sarah confirmed it. At first we thought it was stress, mass hysteria. Then we studied our own genetics and found what the Federation had discovered. We were transforming at a cellular level. The progenitor code was rewriting our biology. The next images showed humanity's response. Instead of panicking, humans around the world began studying the transformation scientifically. Universities collaborated across borders. Governments shared resources. The species that had been fighting itself for centuries suddenly united around a common purpose, understanding what they were becoming. The isolation was a gift. Tom said if we had been part of the galactic community, we might have been treated as freaks, as weapons, as threats to be controlled or destroyed. Alone we could explore potential safely. The evolution accelerates. Marcus showed footage from 500 years into the quarantine. By then nearly every human possessed enhanced abilities. Some could move objects with thought. Others could heal injuries with touch. Rare few could briefly step outside normal time. We discovered that the abilities varied based on individual consciousness. Sarah explained. No two humans developed exactly the same powers, but certain patterns emerged. Some of us became skilled at manipulating energy. Others excelled at perceiving hidden dimensions. Still others could interface with matter. At the quantum level, Amara raised her hand. When did we learn to bypass the barrier? About 1,000 years ago, Marcus answered. A physicist named Dr. James Okoro made the breakthrough. He realized that the barrier only blocked three-dimensional movement, but we had evolved to perceive and interact with higher dimensions. If we could learn to move through those dimensions, the barrier would be meaningless. The hologram showed Dr. Okoro's first successful test. He stood in a laboratory, closed his eyes, and simply ceased to exist in three-dimensional space for 17 seconds. Sensors showed his absence. Then he reappeared exactly where he had been. Gasping but triumphant, it took us another 500 years to master the technique, Sarah said, to make it safe, to teach it to enough people that we could begin exploring beyond our prison. By then we had learned patience. We had learned caution. We knew revealing ourselves too soon would be dangerous. Tom gestured to the current display. So we sent scouts. Thousands of us volunteered to leave Earth and integrate into Federation society. We altered our appearances through dimensional manipulation. We learned alien languages and customs. We became invisible observers, watching and learning. Sarah remembered her own training for such missions, years of studying the Nuri culture, practice at holding an alien form for weeks at a time, learning to think like someone from a completely different world. It had been exhausting but necessary. What we learned surprised us. Marcus continued. The Federation was not evil. They had not imprisoned us out of cruelty. They genuinely feared what we might become, and their fears were not entirely unfounded. In our early stages of transformation, we were unpredictable, dangerous even to ourselves. The hidden colonies. Sarah pulled up new images showing humanity's secret expansion. While some of us infiltrated Federation worlds, others pushed our abilities further. We learned to create stable, dimensional pockets, spaces that existed adjacent to normal reality but invisible to conventional sensors. The first hidden colony appeared on screen. New Hope established 900 years ago on Mars. But this Mars existed slightly out of phase with the Mars that Federation sensors could detect. 10 billion humans now live there, in cities that shimmered between dimensions. We built more. Amira breathed in awe. She had visited many colonies, but seeing them all mapped out was stunning. Jupiter's moons held another 20 billion. Saturn's rings concealed floating habitats housing 15 billion more. Venus, Mercury, even the asteroid belt all held secret human populations. 100 billion humans live in this solar system. Sarah stated. The Federation believes there are only 40 billion on Earth. They have no idea how thoroughly we have colonized our prison. Tom smiled grimly. Let them continue to underestimate us for now. But Marcus shook his head. No, that is exactly what Sarah is trying to change. Deception served its purpose while we learned and grew, but permanent hiding creates permanent division. If we want to truly join the galactic community, we must do so honestly. Sarah nodded agreement, which is why I revealed our presence to the assembly today. Why? I showed them that we can bypass the barrier. The time for secrets is ending. The demonstration. Amara spoke up hesitantly. But we didn't show them everything. We didn't demonstrate our full capabilities. No, Sarah agreed, and we won't, not yet. Trust must be built gradually. Today we showed them we can move through dimensions. That was shocking enough. If we had revealed that we can manipulate energy at the quantum level, create matter from consciousness, or perceive the entire timeline of any object we touch, they would have reacted with pure terror. Marcus brought up a new display. It showed Federation military forces mobilizing, dozens of warships moving toward Earth's quarantine zone. They're preparing for the possibility that we're hostile. The assembly is divided. Some want immediate integration. Others want continued isolation or even elimination. Let them come, Tom said quietly. Let them see Earth up close. Let them meet us in person rather than through hall projections. Fear dies when you look someone in the eye. Sarah agreed with this strategy. I've invited Captain Roland and a Federation delegation to visit Earth. They'll arrive within the week. We need to prepare a proper welcome. Amara looked nervous. What if they attack? What if the military hardliners decide we're too dangerous to exist? Sarah's expression grew serious. Then we will defend ourselves, but only defensively. We will not strike first. We will not cause casualties if it can be avoided. We will prove through our actions that We are not the threat they fear. The progenitor legacy. Marcus changed the display again. This time it showed symbols and equations that hurt to look at directly. There's another reason we need Federation cooperation. The progenitor code in our DNA is still evolving, still revealing secrets, and some of those secrets suggest we're not finished transforming. Sarah stepped closer to study the equations. She had dedicated years to understanding progenitor technology. The ancient race had left fingerprints across the galaxy, genetic keys hidden in dozens of species, ruins on thousands of worlds, technologies that seemed almost magical, all of it pointing towards some greater purpose. The Federation has pieces of this puzzle, Sarah said. There, archaeologists have studied progenitor sites for millennia. Their databases contain information we need. If we work together, we might finally understand why the progenitors seeded genetic keys across the galaxy, what they intended for humanity and other transformed species. Tom leaned back thoughtfully. You believe there are others like us, other species with active progenitor codes? I'm certain of it, Sarah replied. The progenitors wouldn't have modified only humanity. They seeded life across the entire galaxy. Logic suggests they left keys in multiple species, keys that would activate under the right circumstances. We might be the first to fully awaken, but we won't be the last. Amara's eyes widened. That's why you're pushing for integration now. You want to find the others before they make the same mistakes we could have made. You want to help them through their transformations. Sarah smiled at the young woman's insight. Exactly. Humanity was lucky. The quarantine gave us time and space to evolve safely. Other species might not be so fortunate. If their transformations happen in the middle of populated space, the results could be catastrophic. We need to be ready to help, to guide, to share what we've learned. The choice ahead. Marcus shut down the displays, leaving the room in soft lighting. So, we're gambling everything on the Federation, accepting us on them, trusting us despite 3,000 years of fear. That's a big risk, Sarah. I know, she admitted. But the alternative is worse. If we continue hiding, we perpetuate the division. We remain separate from the galactic community indefinitely. Our children will grow up isolated, forever looking at the stars and wondering what might have been. I don't want that for humanity. Tom stood slowly, his aged body moving with difficulty despite the healing abilities all humans now possessed. I was alive when the barrier went up. I remember the grief, the sense of loss. An entire universe suddenly closed to us. I've waited 3,000 years to see that barrier come down properly, not through sneaking and deception, but through honest acceptance. I support your choice, Sarah, even if it's dangerous. Amara nodded as well. My generation has grown up with these abilities. We've never known a time before we could bend space or perceive multiple dimensions. But we've also never known what it's like to walk openly among the stars, to have alien friends, to be part of something bigger than just humanity. I want that chance. Marcus finally smiled. Then we're agreed. We move forward with integration. We show the Federation who we truly are, and we accept whatever comes next. Together. Sarah felt relief wash through her. This was the right path. Difficult, yes. Dangerous, certainly, but right. Humanity had spent 3 millennia becoming something extraordinary. Now it was time to step into the light and share that extraordinary nature with the galaxy. Captain Roland arrives in 6 days, she said. Let's make sure we give him and his delegation a welcome they'll never forget, one that proves humanity deserves to join the Federation not as conquerors or threats but as friends. As her team dispersed to begin preparations, Sarah stood alone in the laboratory for a moment. She thought about the progenitors, about the ancient beings who had looked at primitive humanity millions of years ago and seen potential. They had planted a seed that had taken eons to germinate. Now that seed was finally blooming. Earth's oldest secret had awakened. Humanity had transformed into something new and wondrous, and the galaxy was about to discover that the species they had feared for 3,000 years was actually their greatest hope for the future. The awakening was complete. Now came the true test. Could humanity prove themselves worthy of the gift the progenitors had given them? Could they show the Federation that power and wisdom could coexist? Sarah believed they could. She had to believe it because the alternative was unthinkable. The end.